All right, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. I am a labor and delivery nurse by day, and I love to read books. So I have this channel to talk about the books I've read. So for December, I just counted, I don't remember. I think it was like 17 or 18 books that I read. So I actually had a goal of reading 110 books this year. And if I finish the book that I'm reading, I will have read 200 books in 2022. And in case you're wondering what all the weird noises are, it's this. It's Mabel. She's just licking herself. Hi, Mabel. Say hi, Mabel. I took her collar off because otherwise she jingles all over the place and it's very distracting. So if you hear weird licking, that's Mabel. She just needs to rest. All right, so to start, the first book that I read for the month of December was, I did a lot of audiobooks. I feel like I was in the car a lot this month or something. So the first book was The Poppy War. So this is a fantasy, kind of like political book. Sorry, the licking drives me nuts. So our main character's name is Rin, and she is poor, but she makes it into this elite school where they train you to fight with magic, basically. So there's a lot of discussion of the Poppy War that had happened in the past. So she's kind of trying to figure out what's real, what's propaganda, and trying to figure out, it says they trained her to fight, she's gonna end all wars. So it was very good. Definitely the beginning of a series, so it kind of stops on the cliffhanger and a lot of world building in this book. I gave it 4 stars. It was very interesting. It was quite long. It was 445 pages, so I think it was 14 hours or something of audiobook. So yeah, Poppy War. And I'll let you know how the rest of the series is as I read them. And then I read almost the last in the series of the off-campus romance books by Elle Kennedy. So this is another hockey player who falls in love. This one was it was a trope that just kind of annoys me as a labor and delivery nurse. When there's deliveries, it just bothers me because it's not realistic. People just birth immediately, and I find it very hard. I liked the characters in this. It was just the pregnant the first time you have sex, and now you're trying not to fall in love as you're raising a baby. That trope just kind of bothers me. Sometimes I like it and sometimes it's well done, but this one was just a little bit really just kind of annoying. So I gave this one, I think I gave it 3 stars. Yeah, 3 stars. I really like the series. This one was probably the most disappointing one for me though, just mostly because of that trope. Then I read The Last Christmas in Paris for one of my book clubs. I feel like I've been reading a lot of historical fiction, which is not normally my jam. So this, I was very pleasantly surprised. I gave it 4 stars. And I don't really know what I took that 5th star off for, because I remember it very fondly. So it's letters being written back and forth throughout World War I, which I feel there's not many books about World War I. And I do feel it dealt, it had a lot of death, a lot of it had really good storylines. And even though I listened to an audiobook, the letters were very easy to follow. I've read others that are hard to follow in their letters, Where'd You Go, Bernadette? Some of that stuff was a little bit confusing over audiobook because you didn't know it was a note. So these are all letters, so it's very easy to tell who they're from and the flow of the story. So this was just a very sweet World War I. The romance was cute. There were a lot of characters and I liked it. So I highly recommend if you like historical fiction, maybe for next Christmas, because it is very Christmas heavy. And then I listened to The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. Woo, my iPad's out of control. This one, I don't know. I found it very disappointing, mostly because I've had it like on hold for so long. Like, this one's been so popular. And like Riley Sager is hit or miss. Like, I either love them or kind of am like, that wouldn't happen. This one had a weird, like, fantastical element to it that was like, what? So yeah, I mean, you can't see the like twist coming because it's not like in the realm of possibility. So that just kind of feels a little bit like a cop out to me. Yeah. And it has like the unreliable narrator and just, yeah. This is not the best Riley Sager book. I would like Lock Every Door, Home Before Dark. Those ones are great. Like, so great. This one, yeah. I guess I don't regret reading it, but yeah. Like, I wouldn't even know how to recommend it to someone. So, yeah. And then I read the second in the Naomi Novik, the Schoolomance, lesson 2 of the Schoolomance. So, the first is A Deadly Education. And the third is The Golden Enclaves. I have heard amazing things about the third book, so I'm trying really hard to get through this. So I have only loved Naomi Novik books that I've read before. Uprooted might be one of my favorite books ever, because it's a fairy tale retelling. So, a kind of a strange premise to explain. It's like a school for magic, but the school is like trying to kill them. So, I guess not the school itself. The school is supposed to be safe. But there's all these like, kind of like monsters that like come into the school and they're all trying to kill the kids. So, yeah, very dangerous. And so our main character is like, basically has been like, it's been foreseen that she's gonna like maybe end the world. Like, she's got a lot of evil magic. And so she's changing things at the school. I feel like I can't tell you anymore and give it away. It's very, very good. The first one was kind of meh, but it kind of ramped up at the end and got exciting. This one was great. And so I feel like it's just like building towards the third one. So I gave this 4 stars. I love Naomi Novik. Highly recommend. Then I read, I also own the physical copy. So I read the physical copy. I don't know why I had that on my iPad. So it's great. Loved it. Then I read A Cross Country Christmas, which, it's over here. So this was recommended by a friend. All of the Christmas books that I read were recommended by Jamie Hopp. I loved all of them, so they were great. So like a little Hallmarky, but like I genuinely enjoyed the story so much. So a girl who is afraid of flying and is gonna go home for Christmas gets a ride with her brother's best friend from growing up, and something happened in their past, so she hates him. He doesn't really know why she hates him. And she also doesn't know like what they're doing on this cross-country trip. And it's just cute and sweet, and there's a lot of really great like tropes in here, and it was good. I read this very quickly. It is a real quick read. So highly recommend this for your next like holiday read for next year. I gave it 4 stars. I think 1 off just for like a little bit of corniness, but it was very good. And then I read Below Zero, which is one of Allie Hazelwood's novellas. So I don't know if these need to be read in order. There's like 4 of them. So she wrote The Love Hypothesis, which is one of my favorite romances. It was like so good, 5 stars, like read it in one sitting. This was very good. I liked both of the characters. So she is in STEM, so she writes about women in STEM. So this is a woman who is doing like research in Antarctica, and there's someone that, surprise, has been in love with her forever. She thinks they hate her. It was cute. And it's a novella, so it was really short. It was an audiobook, and I just loved it. Like, I would read the rest of those novellas in a heartbeat. So yeah, 5 stars. Then I read, so it's called, the audiobook was Midwinter Murder, but it was a bunch of Agatha Christie, like, short stories, like holiday, like winter mysteries. So I said that I read 3 by Brian. The first story in the novella was 3 Blind Mice. So that was like the first short story. And that's the only one that like Goodreads like has. Like, they don't see Midwinter Murder as a book. So, but it had, yeah, like lots of short stories that were like set in the winter, murder, Agatha Christie, very entertaining. So I was a little bit bummed, but it had also been like in my TBR forever, like on my like audiobook TBR. So I just wanted to like get it done, like feel accomplished. And it felt good to read in the winter. Ooh, my iPad's freaking out. Okay, so I gave that 4 stars, just mostly for the feels. And then I listened to, while I made a puzzle, The Woman in the Library. And I think I got at least like 60% in like one sitting. Partially because I was distracted by the puzzle. Like, I can just lose hours to making a puzzle. And partially because the plot was really good. So a girl is in, like, the main character is in a library trying to write her novel, which is about a murder. Like, she starts writing about this murder when someone screams and then they find a body and they find out there's a murder. The order of events is a little confusing because they don't find the body right away. But then there's 3 people that are at her table that, like, when the scream happens, that they all like become friends and kind of start investigating this. And like the first chapter is like, and that's when I met the murderer. So that you like know that one of the 3 is a murderer, but you don't know who until the end. And then between chapters, there's like, so, like, you think it's like her editor that's writing to her because he's like critiquing her writing, but it kind of ends up being something else. There's kind of like 2 mysteries happening. Yeah, so I found this very interesting. I felt like that. I can't give it away, like, who it is, but like, I felt like those different things like weaving together were interesting and kept the story moving. So I gave it 4 stars. I maybe took a star off more for like a little like confusion. Like, the premise was slightly confusing, but I did really like it. And then I read, oh my gosh, so many audiobooks in a row because I made so many puzzles and drove to work so much. So Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. So this is the second, right after Finlay Donovan is killing it. So this is an author who writes like murder mystery. And in the first book, she's talking to her editor about how she's going to murder the character in the book, and someone thinks she's like a hitman, and they hire her to kill her husband. Chaos ensues. Like, this woman is a hot mess, like an absolute hot mess, and so stuff just happens to her, and then she's just always trying to cover it up, and she's crazy. So, like, in the first book, it's like funny. I felt like in the second book, it was a little bit more like, okay, you gotta get your life together. Like, I have a little bit of a hard time with like just chaotic characters because they make me crazy. So I gave this one 3 stars. I just didn't think it was as like funny as the first one. I don't feel like I can give the plot away. There is a third. I will probably listen to it. Like, it was very entertaining. It's just so chaotic. So chaotic. Yeah. So then I was reading a physical book and it was taking forever, like just forever. So I needed to just knock something out just to feel accomplished. So I read volume 2 and 3 of Fence. So this is about, there's like a world famous fencer, and this is about his bastard son becoming a fencer. So he got into this prestigious school, like a private school for boys, that has a fencing team. And in these 2 volumes, he is trying out for the fencing team. I think they only have like 3 like on their team like after tryouts, and then there's like a few alternates. And then there's a rivalry between him and this guy who is like, I think he's like number 2 ranked fencer. He's like super serious, and like their styles are very different. I feel like there's some sexual tension between them. But yeah, like they're like short and exciting, and you just like love the characters. And I don't know much about fencing, so it's kind of exciting. Yeah, so Fence, highly recommend. I have now read volumes 1 through 3, and I think there's like 6 or 8. They're real good. I gave them 5 stars. They were exactly what I wanted them to be. And then I read Saint. So for anyone that's heard of Fable and Namesake by Adrienne Young. So Fable is about a girl who is kind of like a treasure hunter. Like she like dives for gems. And she's a gem mage, so like they like speak to her, which is why she can find them. And then Namesake is about like her family. Like she kind of figures out like where, like she was kind of an orphan, so she finds out like where she comes from. It's like treasure hunting, pirates, like they're so good. So Saint is like the prequel. So like it says it's Fable 0.5, so it's like before Fable. So this is about Fable's dad, Saint, and kind of how he meets her mom. I feel like the only reason I wouldn't give this 5 stars is because I wanted it to be longer. Like it just felt like it was getting started and it was done, and I just would have liked more. So yeah, I recommend this for sure if you've read Fable or Namesake, and if you haven't, pick them up. There's some really good YA. I really like Adrienne Young. And then I finally finished Killing the Mob by Bill O'Reilly. So last month I read Killing the Killers. I've read previous Killing the books by Bill O'Reilly and Martin Dugard. This one just didn't love it. Like, and it's like kind of written the way, but I think just the subject material made it very like less of a storyline. Like with like Killing Kennedy, it's like the man who killed Kennedy had 3 hours to live. Like, so you're kind of like following like Kennedy's storyline and like Lee Harvey Oswald. So it's just has more of a story and there's more details, where this has like Killing the Mob starts with like Bonnie and Clyde and like all of those crazy people. Like, you know, oh, I left a little to-do list in that book. So it just, like John Dillinger, and like it just, there's so many characters, and then it switches over to like the mafia and the mob, and like it was interesting information, but it was so hard to keep the characters straight. And then there was a lot about the Kennedys at the end, which is like, whoa, now I feel like it's more about the Kennedys than about the mob. And so yeah, I would not start with this one. If you're starting with any of the killing books, I would like Killing Kennedy, Killing Lincoln, I would leave this one for last. Like, it's not a bad book. It just, I felt like it was hard with all the characters. So I gave it 3 stars. Normally I give these 4 or 5. Like, I gave Killing the Killers 5 because it was just like so well written, and it's a topic that I don't know much about, and just like they did such a good job like weaving in information. This was very hard to follow, and maybe I just wasn't in the mood, but I'm giving this one 3 stars. And then I listened to The Rose Code by Kate Quinn. So this was such a good book, and I felt like this was hyped quite a bit, so I was nervous that I was not gonna like it. I just feel like historical fiction for me is kind of hit or miss, like just because I feel like a lot of historical fiction kind of like is a little bit more like rose colored, and like your main characters all lived through the war, and it's just hard, which is why I love The Nightingale, because it was hard like the whole way through, and then of course it's devastating at the end, and like that's kind of what war is. So The Rose Code is about 3 girls who are like code breakers, and like so super interesting. So there's like a current day storyline, which is happening with the royal wedding, like coming out. So it's like 5 days till the royal wedding, like 3 days. And that's Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth. So it's like post-war. It's like 1950s. And then there's also like during the war, a storyline. So these girls are like code breakers. It's about like their codes. In the current day, like 1950s storyline, one of the characters is in a mental institution and they're about to do a lobotomy on her. And so she's trying to like smuggle out a message. She was turned in because she knew information about a traitor. Super interesting. It really kept the story moving. I was very happy because I had just read, what was it? Oh my gosh. The Diamond Die by Kate Quinn. And I gave that 5 stars and I loved it. And so I was like, there's no way that I'm going to read another one of hers and it's going to be as good. And it was. So I gave this one 5 stars. Loved it. Highly recommend The Rose Code. I also just love like women in wars that it's like, yeah, we were badasses and we just like aren't really in the history books. So very interesting. That's what I love when historical fiction does that. Then this was another book that took me a really long time to finish just because it is dense. So our main character, I think her name is Kate. Yes, Kate. She goes on 12 dates, the 12 dates of Christmas. So it's like a program that she signs up for and they're like themed. So like they go ice skating for one day and they go like hiking for one day. And she's living in her hometown with her best friend from her childhood who they had a falling out. And now he's dating someone else and she's trying to move on. And guess what? They're in love. So she's trying to like deny her feelings and date all these other people. And it's just cute. It's just a really cute story. I felt like each of the dates was like interesting. There were like all different great reasons for them not working out. Yeah, it was just a sweet little story. I really liked it. It took me a long time to finish just because it's so dense and I think I was working a lot of shifts in the meantime. So, but I did give it 4 stars. Real cute. My next book I read was Comfort and Joy by Kristen Hanna. So this one I had an ebook. So it just takes me a long time to read an ebook because I read audiobooks like on the way to and from work while I'm cooking. And then if I'm going to sit down and read, I like to read a physical copy. I own a lot of physical books, so I need to like get through them and I forget about the ones on the iPad. So this was one that I wanted to read for Christmas because it's been on my TBR forever and it's a Christmas tale. So our main character is her husband impregnates her sister, which is awful. And I don't know that I could get over it. And I feel like this book is about her getting over it. And I just don't know if that's something that you get over. Maybe that's me. I don't think Kara, Erin, Jenna. I don't think I can get over that. Okay. So yeah, that just to me seems like so many boundaries. Like, I don't think I could get over that. So she finds out her sister is pregnant with her ex-husband's baby. And she like runs away, gets in a plane crash. In the plane crash, she then wakes up and like lives this whole life that she thinks happens, but then wakes up from a coma. So that didn't actually happen, or did it? So in the other storyline, she like falls in love as this like beautiful, which yeah, I took some stars off for this because it didn't feel like there really was a romance. It was like very one-sided for her because the guy couldn't see her. So I don't know how you then are suddenly in love. Yeah, so that was a little weird. Because then of course she finds him in real life and they're in love. But he couldn't see her. He was like his son's imaginary friend. There were some plot holes, okay? I gave it 4 stars. Like, it kept moving. But now as I'm thinking about it, like, there were just a lot of holes. I guess I gave it that extra star because it was short. And that excited me. It was real Christmassy, like, good feels. But, again, some things didn't seem plausible about this story. So, take that as you will. good little holiday tale, I guess. Then I read Sneaking Under the Mistletoe by Ashley Shepherd. I'm pretty sure this is like self-published. And it was so good, like 5 stars. I read this because I had to call in because of the storm, and then my family got COVID. So I basically was alone all Christmas weekend, which was super fun. So I read this almost in one sitting. It's like Grumpy Sunshine. It's very seasonal, very festive. Like the banter is great. And then there's also like it's kind of like it's not really a mystery, but there's like an undertone, like another story. Like there's a great plot in this story. So I highly recommend this, like 5 stars. I would probably pick up anything that Ashley Shepherd wrote just based on this book alone. I loved the characters, loved the banter, loved the festivity, loved the Grumpy Sunshine. It was so cute. Yeah, so you should read this next Christmas. And then I finished listening to Apples Never Fall. This took me a little while. I love Leanne Moriarty. This one it just wasn't it for me. I think I gave it 3 stars because like it wasn't bad. I was like interested in the story. It felt very long. And it also kind of felt like, why do I care? It's about a very dysfunctional family who plays tennis. And the mom goes missing. And just so many miscommunications. And like, that's not my favorite trope, like miscommunication, because I feel like there's just it's hard to miscommunicate this hard in the days of technology, you know? So take that as you will. Do I regret reading it? No. Would I recommend it to you to read? Now, when there's a lot of other Leanne Moriarty books that you should read. What Alice Forgot, The Husband's Secret, Big Little Lies. Have you ever heard of it? So, yeah, I'll read the next book she releases, but that one just wasn't my favorite. And the one before was 9 Perfect Strangers, which was also weird, like weird premise, weird. And then but like, it was entertaining. And then I started watching the Hulu like show of it, and I only got like 2 episodes in. I just couldn't do it. It was weird. It was like slow moving, and since I already knew how it was gonna end, I just felt like I just wasn't invested in it. And then I read In a Holidays, so by Christina Lauren. I've actually had this for a while. Christina Lauren, I don't know why I said that so weird. I've had this for a while. I was waiting to read it at Christmas time. This has been recommended as a favorite holiday book from a lot of people. I gave this 5 stars. It was very enjoyable. It was a fast read. So it's kind of like Groundhog's Day at Christmas time. So this girl lived like her whole Christmas week, and then wakes up on the plane again, and then like kind of keeps like starting over. Thankfully it wasn't like too repetitive. So like, I don't love when you just like repeat. So it repeated maybe this much, and then like did just like move on with its story. And it was great. I loved this story. It was romantic and sweet and cute, and like, so just a really good like family tale too, because it's about like kind of an extended family that all gets together for Christmas. So this made me feel good to read when I was not getting together with my family for Christmas. So that's another 5 star. So that was book 199 for December. So I am currently reading Stay Awake by Megan Golden. I'm like 50 pages in, and I'll probably try to get to at least 100 tonight. It's like 3:20. So I feel like I can solidly finish this between tonight and tomorrow. So she wrote The Night Swim, which is maybe my favorite mystery thriller of all time. Like, I read it in one sitting. It was like so fast moving. This is probably my number 1 recommendation for people that like thrillers. I loan this one out all the time, so it's just like never on my shelf. This is about a podcaster who like goes back to her hometown to cover a murder, and like there's also a murder from like when she was growing up that kind of is like mirroring this. It's very interesting. I love the podcast like point of view. So I knew that I was going to like pick up the next book that she wrote. And honestly, I'm a little bit more surprised that she's not like more hyped up. I got that first book from Book of the Month, which is also why like I love Book of the Month, because I read a lot of books that I maybe wouldn't. And I've only had like 2 or 3 in a few years that I have not like fully enjoyed. So I feel like it is very much worth it. So that's my little plug for Book of the Month. So Stay Awake so far is about a character. There's a current day and there's a 2 years ago storyline. So 2 years ago is apparently when things went wrong, I guess, from what I can surmise. So the main character is like wakes up on a park bench and doesn't remember the last 2 years, and like written all over her hand is like, stay awake, you forget everything when you fall asleep. And so now she's like going about her life trying to piece together what happens to her when she sleeps and like what happened to her in the last 2 years. So yeah, I think it's gonna be really good, and let's just anticipate a 4 stars at least. Okay, we'll see. I'll update with my January. And then, yeah, so that is 2022. So I am planning to film like this was my favorite book every month, because I've been keeping track of that, and then have like a best book of the year, which I'm very excited about because I like kind of pick from amongst my 5-star books, and then I haven't really looked back. So I'm excited to kind of like line them up and see. Very tired. And see what my favorite books were for the year. Because especially when I'm like put on the spot and people ask me like, what book should I read? That is all books just go out of my mind, except for like random fantasy, which I know that a lot of people don't like. And then so I'll give you like a top 12 books of the year. And then next month, January, so normally I have like a theme for each month. So for 2023, I normally I say like, oh, I'm gonna read poetry, like a book of poetry or this. So this year I'm gonna try to read, like kind of have like a genre, like be my guide for the month. So like for February, I want to read books by or about people of color or romances for February. And then, yeah, so there's some months that I haven't like firmly decided what I want, but like some of the summer months, I'll do like beach reads. I think June is Pride month, so I'll probably try to read like some like Pride books and like books off my TBR that fit the prompt. So for January, I want to read, like catch up my book of the month books. So I have so many books to read. So I joined the Sharon Says So book club for this next 6 months. So I have to read one for that. I have 2 book clubs that I'm in. So there are potentially 3 books just for book clubs that I need to read. And then I think I have 10 book of the month books that I have not read. And that doesn't mean that I'm like 10 months behind, because for April and December, I get 2 books because I'm a BFF. And then my sister has passed on some of the books that she's gotten from Book of the Month for me to read as well. So I'm not 10 months behind. But yeah, I'm very excited because these are like a lot of books that they've like always been like at the end of my TBR, and I just haven't gotten to them that month. So like making them a priority feels good. I feel like that'll be a great way to start the year, just like kind of catching up on my TBR a little bit. And then I'll probably film a book haul as well, because, well, so I have not opened Christmas presents yet. So it is December 30th today. And I'm not opening presents until January 8th. So I'll probably do a book haul like further into January, because I feel like I'm going to get some books for Christmas. Barnes & Noble had a 50% off hardcover, so I did some damage there. I bought some thrift books. I've just like picked books up through like Black Friday sales. So I have a lot of books that I have not like covered. Yeah, so I feel really good about my 2022 reading. I'm gonna hit 200 books. Last year I hit 140 and I felt like that was a huge fluke. But I think just like, so some of it is that I read a bunch of graphic novels this year. So maybe like 10 of the books that I read were graphic novels, which are very short, easy to read. So there's that. And that probably skewed my reading a little bit. But you know what? A book is a book. And I also just think that because I just have so many books I'm excited to read, I just keep reading. And I feel like because I get to share it with you guys. So yeah, here's to 2023 and all the fun books we'll read. I think I might put my goal at like 120. It was 110 this year. It just feels like all it's going to take is for me to get like in a slump or have some like, God forbid something happen to me for like a month and then I don't want to hit a goal just because I had a weird freaky reading year one year. So yeah, we'll see. Anyway, I will see you in 2023. Bye.